in business, it's usually a psychic reading where you're looking at, financial matters. You're looking at, the direction of opportunities that are coming for them in the future. You're seeing, the path that will help them maximize their best business journey.
Hmm. Hello, Empower Nation. Welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. I am your host, Angela Duncan, speaker, best-selling author, serial entrepreneur, and we talk all things money and business. Today's episode is sponsored by freemoneytipsbook.com, freemoneytipsbook.com. Head over there, download your free ebook to get you started on your journey to financial freedom. Today's episode, I get to interview Cari Roy with New Orleans Psychic. And we are going to talk about how using a psychic in your business can help you make better business decisions. And bonus, if you're a real estate agent, how cleansing a home might get you a higher sale price. Hi, Cari. Welcome to Empower Her Money podcast. How are you today?
Oh, I am wonderful. I'm so happy to be here. Greetings from New Orleans. It's my joy to be here today.
Yes. So I am super fascinated with the paranormal world, but I would love for you to share your journey. How did you get to what you're doing today?
Well, I'm the luckiest person in the world in that I was able to get born into a family that supported anything spiritual, metaphysical. My mother was a gifted psychic and medium, and my grandfather was a numerologist and an astrologer. And so I kind of landed immediately in the right place when I was born, for my own gifts to develop. And so when I was young, my mother started recognizing some of those things in me, and she assisted me and kind of taught me how to use them. And so she passed when I was a teenager, but I kind of walked away from the psychic and metaphysical world for a while. I went into the music business in the 1970s, so that was a good time and a fun time to do that. And so I was in the music business until about the mid 80s. And in the mid 80s, I knew a woman who was a booking agent, and she and I became friends. And she knew that I knew how to use tarot cards, and that I knew about astrology and palm reading and all of this stuff. And she asked me if I could do that professionally for an event. And I was young, I was in my 20s. At this point, it was, I would say, 1985. And I thought, why not? Of course I could do that. And so there I ended up being a professional psychic. And there was a lot that goes to getting me from childhood to there. My mother taught me, I grew up around seances. I grew up with tarot card reading being something that we used to make decisions in the household. So it was part of our culture, really. And so it was very normal for that to be a topic of conversation. And it was just we were the weird family, that my mother did the seances and things like that. But in the New Orleans culture, it really is part of it. Tarot and psychics and paranormal and spirits are all part of our culture. And so perhaps more than anywhere in the world, you could create a business as a psychic medium. And I often say I use my own intuition to realize that I could make a business out of using my own intuition. And that's what really drew me into this as a profession. And I was so fortunate that I would get gigs to do events. And then I worked at shops in the French Quarter for close to 20 years.
Wow.
And then right before Katrina is when I went out on my own. So about 20 years ago is when I went out on my own. But before that, I'd spent about 20 years in the shops, really, and working a lot of events and paying my dues, I guess you would say. And really learning from some of the best people in the business. My mother was exceptionally talented. My grandfather was exceptionally talented in what he did. I was so lucky. And then the women and men that I worked with when I was coming up as a kid in the business, really, again, I was in my mid-20s at that point, but a lot of the other readers that I worked with were in their 60s and 70s at that time. And so I really learned from some of the very best of them. And I credit them all the time in what it is that I do. I learned so much and thank them. Many of them have passed now, so I can still connect with them in spirit.
Yeah. So do you feel like a lot of people have gifts and maybe they just don't know about it?
I do. I think everybody has intuition. I feel like it is an innate human quality. And so I think that it is something that people get gut feelings. You'll hear people talk about their instincts. You'll have people talk about their hair standing up on end when something happens, and other things that are just really physical signs of psychic ability or intuitive ability. And we don't necessarily pay attention to it. Again, I was lucky that I was born into it and it was recognized and encouraged. But for many people, they don't know that they have it. Really, they don't know what it is and they doubt themselves.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by paranormal. I mean, I was watching scary movies at like age 7. My daughter started at age 10. And, we used to watch, Ghost Hunters, and we had like tools that we would check paranormal activity.
Yeah.
And for myself, I've always been very in tune for more like walking into rooms and feeling the energy in a room. So, it's coming from somewhere, whether it's a heavy, whether it's a laughter, but I always felt like I had some type of gift. But you're right, because I would doubt myself, like, oh, why would I be feeling this way?
Yes, so many people, we doubt ourselves. It's our hard thing, but as we get older, I think it becomes easier to trust one's gut feelings.
Yeah.
We tend to see that they're right, and so therefore we just allow ourselves to act on those feelings.
Yeah. So let's talk about it from a business perspective. How do you help businesses with the gifts that you have?
Well, I have a lot of clients who are business people, entrepreneurs, all sorts of, all walks of lives. I say that I see probably about 1,000 people a year.
Wow.
That's a lot of people. And they come from all different walks of life. And so in business, it's usually a psychic reading where you're looking at, financial matters, you're looking at, the direction of opportunities that are coming for them in the future. You're seeing, the path that will help them maximize their best business journey.
That's very interesting. So
Yeah.
just to help guide them, just like having a coach, it's just a different type of coach to help them in their business matters. Yeah. Now,
Yes.
have you had any real estate agents come to you, for example?
Goodness.
Yeah. Tell me a story about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, for several reasons. I'm a medium and I've done a lot of paranormal TV and stuff here in New Orleans. And I actually was in the Wall Street Journal once for an article about haunted real estate. and how that is in a market. And in New Orleans, we have signs that will say that a place is haunted on their for sale sign. It's a draw to have a haunted house in New Orleans. Sometimes it'll say not haunted, but most of the time it says haunted. But yeah, I've worked with a lot of realtors over the years in various capacities, to help them make some decisions and give them some timelines as to when houses are going to sell, which are the houses that are going to be the easier to sell, the harder to sell, all the way to doing house cleansing and house blessings. If there's been some like weird vibe that the property is just stuck, they'll bring somebody like me in to do a house cleansing or a house blessing.
Yeah, and I could see that. I'm in Florida, so Florida, we do have a disclosure state, and I have had an active real estate license for about 15 years. But one of the things we do not have to disclose is someone passed away in
somebody passed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that. That's interesting.
So I can imagine hiring you to come in and at least maybe, do what you need to do to make it a great home for the next buyer if there's any energy or anything left in that home.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I do, is just clear the space and allow the new person to come in and make peace with the old, energy that's there. See if it wants to, see if the energy wants to stay. If it does, if the spirits want to stay, then they have to behave themselves. Which is that's the tricky part. But not everybody wants to get rid of their spirits. Some people want to keep the spirits. They just want to have a good working relationship with their spirits. And that's again where somebody like me can come in and help negotiate that. I've done that in there's a place here that was for sale, and it was sitting, and it's a fabulous, fabulous space. And it was owned by someone who was very hesitant to have new people come into that space. The man had died, and he was very protective of that space, his spirit. And so I had to kind of do a negotiation with that spirit to allow somebody new to come in and purchase the house.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I can see that. So if people come to you and ask you, like, is there any readings, or like, where do they go to get more information about kind of the paranormal world?
Well, they can find information about me online at neworleanspsychic.com. And I also have a website called paranormalneworleans.com. That's not my primary site, but it's a good site that has a lot of listings of haunted hotels and restaurants and bars. But my primary site is neworleanspsychic.com. And there's a lot of information about the types of readings that I do. I offer psychic readings, I offer medium readings, I offer astrology readings, I offer past life readings. So there are several types of things that we do, and I have a few readers who work for me or with me, and they also offer services, psychic medium readings. And so it's really, we offer an assortment of types of readings.
Yeah. For someone wanting to get into your field, is there certifications, trainings, what would you give advice to someone thinking about entering into your field?
Well, the best thing to do is really learn up as much as you can through books and solitary practice for a while. Get an idea of the type of readings you think you would like to offer. Most of us teach. I teach. There are other seasoned readers who mentor and teach. And so there are always classes that one can take online or in person to guide you to use your abilities. But when you come to somebody like me in that way, you want to kind of know if you want to use tarot, you want to know if you want to do astrology, you want to know if you want to be a medium, you want to know if you just want to do psychic. I'm a pure psychic, so I don't use tarot. But I think tarot is wonderful. I just don't use it personally. So people should get an idea of what it is that they do want to do before they try to enter into it as a business. So there's a lot of prep work. It took me a long time to really hone my skill and my craft. And then the best thing to do is actually just get a job as a reader. There, in most communities, there's a shop or some place that somebody can go and, get hands-on practice.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of online opportunities too for people if they want to do readings, either through the phone or online. There's a lot of opportunities for people to kind of hone their skills that way too. So I would say that you got to jump into it once you've done your homework. Then you just, take yourself and get yourself out there to actually do readings face to face with real people.
Now, I've already told you I'm super fascinated about this world, and I would love for you to share perhaps a success story with maybe a business client that you worked with that came to you, and just kind of what the outcome of was and what you did with that client.
Oh, I've got so many instances, but I can share some. One of the great ones is that there was a time where there was a little questions with an industry. It was the industry was kind of on shaky ground, and I had an executive as a client in this particular industry. I'm not going to say it because I want to protect the anonymity of the person, but in this particular industry, and they were coming to me, and I kept telling them they're going to offer you a package and you just need to take the package. And it was something that I just kept seeing. I was like, they're going to offer this to you, you have to take it. They're not going to offer this again. It's a choice deal, you have to take this. And they took this package, and then the next about month later, the company just laid off a bunch of people, and this person would have been laid off, but they took a package. And so they were protected, and they had severance, and they were just fine. And that person never did anything after that without consulting me throughout his career, because I saved him a lot of money. There are other things where I've consulted with people about the types of businesses that they would be able to open. I'm a futurist, so I can see people's skill set and see areas that they would excel at. And so we can unpack things about the types of businesses that somebody can do and be successful at. And I've had a lot of wonderful feedback over the years. I've been doing it at this point almost 40 years. And so
Wow.
I've had a lot of people that I've consulted in business who've retired comfortably. So I'm fortunate that I've been able to advise a lot of people in business. So, and it's really just validating a lot too for people. They want they know the answers themselves. I'm not necessarily giving them something that they don't already know inside, but when they are talking to me, I can shine a light on something that they might not see, an opportunity, a path. Yeah.
Good. And then one more story, but maybe more along the lines with the real estate, because I was in real estate before, so it's also very fascinating to me. I would love to hear something that kind of sticks out that you remember when you're helping with real estate.
Well, again, this one, and this was fairly recently, this one building, it was huge. It was a big mansion on one of our prominent streets here in New Orleans. And this spirit just would not let anybody buy this house. I mean, it sat. And finally, I came in, and within, I would say, 3 weeks, it was totally, it was sold. So it works. It really does. It works. I came in there and figured it out, spoke to the spirit that was there. negotiated kind of like a deal with that spirit that they would honor that spirit's presence and their protection that they were bringing to that location. And it was just wonderful. I mean, it was literally like 3 weeks, just boom. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so I have a fun question for you. You already have a almost like a superpower, a very unique talent. But if you could pick a different superpower or super talent, what would you pick and why?
Boy, that is a wonderful, wonderful question. I do feel like I have a superpower, so I'm almost afraid to ask for another because I feel like I'd be greedy. But I would say patience.
Mm,
Patience is a superpower, isn't it? When you think about it. No, that's kind of just a little humor. I would say that it would be the ability to transport to some place really quickly. I think that getting from one place to another, like the Flash or somebody who could just
mhm.
levitate and get to some other location by just wiggling their nose or something. I would love to have that superpower. That would be great.
That reminds me that I Dream a Genie. You know, I was a big fan of that show when I was a kid because I just thought that was so fascinating too. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Cari, tell us again, where can our audience reach out to you to find more information about your services?
Oh, sure. I'm easy to find. It's neworleanspsychic.com. That's neworleanspsychic.com. Pretty easy, all one word. And yeah, it's easy to find me on the internet. And I am based here in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I just love it here and think I'm the luckiest person to be here doing what I love in a place that really supports it.
Yeah, yeah. And I really think if you did an Instagram or YouTube, just after, you know, you meet with a client or something happens, you kind of give like a high level overview. I think it would be completely fascinating. It's definitely something I would tune into.
Oh, oh, well, thank you so much. Yes, I know I've got to find the time to do these things, but thank you for the encouragement.
Yes.
It's definitely on my New Year list of things to do. I definitely am looking into like TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and doing more with that. So thank you for your psychic reading there. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Cari, for being on Empower Her Money podcast. If anyone is listening and is in the New Orleans area, definitely go check her out or visit her website. And again, I appreciate your time today. I was so excited and I've learned a lot from you today. So thanks, Cari.
Oh, well, thank you. It's my joy and really you were warm and welcoming and I appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for tuning into Empower Her Money podcast. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, share this podcast, and leave a review wherever you are tuning in.